What's up, Broncos country, and welcome to another episode of Keep Your Eye on the Ball, your YouTube channel dedicated to all things Denver Bronco football. I know that's a little bit of maybe miscommunication because Adam, you're wearing Nuggets stuff today. Yes, I am, because my Denver Nuggets are in the playoffs, getting ready to whoop up on the Lakers again here in about an hour. So that's why I got my gear on. But as always, remember to like, share, subscribe, leave me comments, tell me I'm handsome, send me presents. Those last two things have been a little light, I'm not gonna lie. But this today's episode, or this week's episode, or this iteration of the episode is gonna be, we're gonna be talking about the NFL draft, seeing as we are just 2 days away from seeing the newest Denver Bronco being introduced to us. I will be giving you 3 more players that I think could be there at 12. I am also super excited to talk about a guy that I love, and even though I don't think he will be selected by Denver. Since this is also being shot the same day as the news of Zach Wilson joining the Denver Broncos, I will be giving my thoughts about that. And we're just gonna have a fun episode. I hope you like some of the content because, man, I've been digging deep. And I've been watching a lot of football, so make sure that you have as much information so that way you can share these at parties with your friends and wow them with as much useless knowledge as I have. And as always, let's bam! Jump into the episode. The first guy that we will be highlighting at pick number 12, the Broncos may have an interest in Bo Nix, quarterback from Oregon. Pros with Nix, he is very experienced. I think he's the same age as I am, honestly. I'm just kidding, he's not that old. But he is an older quarterback. I believe that he's a 5th-year senior, and he's turning 24 or 25 this year. Now, before my less experienced viewers, 24 or 25 for a rookie quarterback is actually pretty old. So you know that doesn't work in his. So it's a plus and a con. It's a plus and a minus at the same time. But with being that experienced, he also has a lot of experience making calls at the line. So to me, that says that he's already a little bit farther in his development versus some of the other quarterbacks that are out there right now. And I like that he makes his own calls at the line. One of the things in the college game that I am not crazy about at all is the longer play clock and the fact that they look to the sideline to make their audible. Now, I'm a big CU guy. What you see a lot is when they when they audible at the line, you'll see Shedeur Sanders look over, get the call, and then he calls it into the huddle. That isn't happening with Nix. Nix makes his own calls, and I like that. He's very accurate in the short term, or not short term, in the short range. And Oregon does throw short routes a lot. They also throw behind the sticks a lot, which means you have to have a good sense of timing and you have to have a good touch. Nix has both of those. He's also really composed back there, meaning even if he's getting rushed, he doesn't ever really show that he's rattled. So those are all good qualities that I really liked. And I do need to mention that for as much as I wasn't a big fan of Nix, I did actually start to like him a little bit more the second time around watching some of his stuff. So since we have pluses, we have to go on the minuses. With Nix, I don't think he's a good deep ball thrower. I don't know how much Sean Payton is going to want that in his offense now that Wilson isn't here, or Russell Wilson isn't here, but he doesn't show it a lot, and when he does, his ball tends to kind of flutter a little bit. I'm also not crazy. Now, while I did mention this in other reviews that he's really good at changing arm angles, he also changes them all the time, and that leads to inconsistent mechanics. It also leads to throws sailing sometimes. I even see this with Mahomes, who is famous for his for changing arm angles. And I want you to notice this, that if a guy doesn't have his good footwork and a good footwork setup, his ball kind of flutters all over the place. And just even go in the backyard. When you're throwing a ball, just notice when you point your foot to where you're throwing it to and you throw with a good motion, usually always goes there. If you kind of throwing all wonky all over the place, the ball kind of has its own mind sometimes. Those are the things that I noticed about Bo Nix. And the last thing that I noticed with Nix is that I think he's going to be a scheme fit quarterback. I will say that I think his style of play and the offense of Oregon doesn't lead him to be a good fit for the Broncos. I don't like Bo Nix. I am not a Bo Nix guy. Do I think he'd be a good fit for Denver? I actually kind of do from watching it. But that also may preclude him from going to another team that maybe is asking their quarterback to do something different. Either way, it's not the biggest critique, but it is something that I bet a lot of teams are already keeping in their mind. And I wouldn't be surprised if this causes his draft status to really plummet on draft day. The first guy that we're going to be profiling is edge rusher Dallas Turner from Alabama. So we're always going to give a pro and a con whenever there's an evaluation. The two games that I evaluated Dallas Turner on were the playoff game versus Michigan and also versus Ole Miss. So for strengths, he has prototype size for an edge rusher. 6'5", 250 pounds, has a frame to put on maybe another 15 pounds of size. So from that point of view, he's exactly the size that you're looking for. One of the things that jumped out at me from the onset was his first step. This kid, my screen just, we'll cut that out. Cut that out in editing. His first step is probably one of the quickest that I've seen this year amongst the draft class. It leads to most of his sacks. It leads to most of his tackles for loss. To go along with that, he has a great dip and bend move. So he doesn't lose a lot of speed when he's either making a looping rush or when he bull rushes. And especially with that dip, he is able to get really low under these taller offensive tackles. Also, he plays for Alabama, so you know Saban, at least when he was there, he's bringing blue chippers there. He has been a 2-year starter. He's a blue chipper. That's what I mean. What more can you say? Dallas Turner is the real deal. Now, I think he could be there at 12 if certain scenarios go the way that they could. He may not, but if he is there and Denver takes him, I would be over the moon for it. With strengths, we move over to cons. We always have to go good with the bad. There wasn't a whole lot that I watched, and I also want to mention that when I do an evaluation, I kind of look at the game in my eyes and I make notes, and then I actually go into NFL.com or just Google search them and search for any kind of profile that I can find to see maybe if my eyes match up with what the actual scouts say. And they did and they didn't when it came to the weaknesses. So what I saw is that Dallas Turner isn't consistent with his hands. Some scouts look at it that he is very bad with his hands. Some scouts think he's very good with his hands. What I saw was both. When I saw good with his hands, he was very good at using them to create separation, and then he was very good at using his outside leverage to set edges, which is what you want to see in the defensive end. I also saw on the bad that when he doesn't use his hands, he gets enveloped by offensive tackles, and the industry term is actually stays blocked. He stays blocked a lot for somebody who's as big and as fast as he is. And he also has prototype arm length size too, to keep guys off of him. So the fact that he doesn't always use his hands very well is going to be a point of emphasis for whatever team drafts him. And the conclusion is Dallas Turner would be more than a worthy pick at 12 if they got this and they paired him with Nick Bonito and Baron Browning and Jonathan Cooper and had like a rotation of those four guys going, getting after quarterbacks. Oh, that would be it would be awesome. Like I said before, I don't think he will be there, but if he was and Denver picked him up, I'd be perfectly happy with that. So the second guy that we're going to highlight is a personal favorite of mine, and that is Michael Penix, quarterback from Washington. I have been on record in more than one platform and in more than one scenario saying that I love Michael Penix. But with that being said, I always want to be fair in my evaluations. So again, I took 2 games. This would be both college football playoff games. The first one versus Texas and the next one versus Michigan, and those will be our evaluation. Starting with the pros. He has enough arm strength to make every throw on the field. It doesn't matter if it's short throws, long throws, intermediate throws, he has the arm strength to do it. Penix also has, I think he has deceptive athleticism. You don't see him run as much as he did when he was at Indiana, but you still see him with enough wheels to be able to use them on designed runs and scrambles when he needs to. He also, I think, demonstrates a lot of leadership qualities. One of the things that gets brought up a lot is that the night before the Texas game in the college football playoff, he actually had an all-players meeting, and he told the coaches, hey, you guys need to get out of here, we need to talk to the team. And when the coaches actually went to check on him just to see what they were doing, they said you could hear a pin drop. The only person you could hear was Penix. So that tells me that he's a great leader, and you want that from a quarterback. I also think he throws with great touch. I also think he throws with a lot of anticipation, meaning that when he's playing against zone, he's great at hitting guys as they're sitting in the zone. He's also great against man, too. So, I mean, for me anyway, I did my best to find things that I did not like. And trust me, there were things on the second viewing that I wasn't crazy about, and I'll bring those to you too. As always, we got to go with weaknesses. And for as much as I like Penix, there are some weaknesses. The first one being the injuries. Michael Penix has 4 season-ending injuries, 2 on his ACL. Now, any team that sees this, it's going to be an enormous red flag. And combine that with the fact that he isn't the most mobile guy in the world. Now, I need to qualify that because while he does show some athleticism, he's not a Jaden Daniels. He's not a Caleb Williams. He's not gonna win any foot races. Let's put it that way. And if push comes to shove, he is also inconsistent with throwing on the run. As I said with Dallas Turner, there are some scouts who are very dismissive of his ability to throw on the run. There are also some scouts that think he just doesn't do it enough. I am of the mind that he's inconsistent because I do like the way he subtly moves in the pocket to avoid pressure, and I do think that he can throw on the run. It just doesn't always show it, and I think that's a product of the ACL injuries, to where he doesn't have the wheels that he probably did before the injuries. Another thing that's a little bit of a concern is he has a hitch in his throw, and I don't know if that's because he's a lefty or because he just kind of has like a herky-jerky throwing motion, but that also means that he doesn't have always a consistent release point, and he also doesn't have that consistent release point, and it leads him to be a teensy bit inaccurate sometimes. But overall, I would be tickled if he was there at 12. I do have to caution that I do not think the Broncos are in love with him, and I don't think the Broncos are in love with any quarterback at 12. Now, I could be wrong, but especially when you consider scheme fit and getting value at that pick, because you want a day one starter when you're picking number 12. I just don't think that Penix, I think Penix could be that guy. I don't think the Broncos see him the same way that I see him. So personally, I don't think they're drafting him. If they did, I would do a cartwheel, and you know that's a big deal because I can't do cartwheels. Or I would just whoop and holler really loud because I can do that. But yeah, I don't think Denver will take him. But if it were me, I would, if he were there at 12 and it were me, done. It would be a done deal. Now, I am filming this the same day that the news dropped about Zach Wilson. And there seems to be a consensus amongst the fans where they either A, they hate it, or B, they're like, it's a very low risk move. And both can be true. So I will give you my thoughts on this. For the quarterback class that Wilson came out in, I actually had him the highest rated quarterback in my eyes. I did not like Justin Fields. I had a lot of questions about his mental toughness, and I had a lot of questions about his decision making. Again, each player has pluses and minuses. I had some concerns about Wilson's really good play being the byproduct of the COVID year. And I also had some issues with his production and his basically the teams that he's facing at BYU. I didn't like the competition he faced. He also isn't the biggest guy in the world, and he already does kind of have some injury histories even with the Jets, where he's either nicked up or has some kind of like nagging thing going on. But the things that you love is that arm, and this dude can fling it. He has amazing arm strength, can throw across his body, can change arm angles. When scouts say arm talent, this is what they're talking about, is that this guy can make every throw, and he throws it hard, he throws it fast, he's got a nice tight spiral. There's a lot to like with Zach Wilson, and when I was watching him at BYU, and granted I wasn't doing this, so I wasn't doing a full evaluation, but just from the little things that I saw here and there, I thought Wilson was the best quarterback in that draft. Now, when you go to New York, you need to have a mental toughness about you. Now, is that great? Now, I don't think it's bad that he necessarily flamed out in New York, but he flamed out because I don't think that the organization really knows how to develop a quarterback, and not even develop. That's a bad word. I don't like saying that. I don't think they know how to protect a quarterback, and I think they fed him to the wolves a little too soon. Now, in theory, Denver should be a step down as far as scrutiny when it comes to New York. But we know that's not true. This franchise has booed Russell Wilson off the field. They have booed Peyton Manning off the field. They have booed John Elway off the field. I have been there for they booed Jake Plummer off the field. I've been there for all of this. This town is brutal when it comes to its quarterbacks. So if this kid is if he needs any kind of mental wet nurse or anything like that, I have my reservations to see if it works out here. Now, as far as what we gave up for him, it's basically a swap of late round picks and Wilson. So it's a very, very low risk. And here's what I have told people so far who do not like the trade. It's basically a trade to see if Sean Payton can rehab this guy. If he can rehab him and even make him passable, then you have a starting quarterback making pennies on the dollar for at least 2 seasons. And it's 2 seasons that you're going to need him, because we don't have the money right now. Denver is going to be cash strapped for this year and next year until we get out of the Russell Wilson purgatory that we're in right now. So from that end, it could be very beneficial, and it could look like a stroke of genius to give up a 6th for Zach Wilson. Also makes it very low risk too is that 6th rounders flame out of the league all the time. The sad fact of the matter is, the lower you get, the harder it is to stay on a roster. If that 6 doesn't pan out and he doesn't pan out, or it's just a carousel between him and Stidham, or he doesn't even see the field for whatever reason, it's a 6th round pick. It's not much that we lost from it. So trust me, I was mad when I first saw it. I was really upset. After thinking about it, I can't say that I'm happy, but I'm also not upset, and I think it's a good, solid football move too. Now, before I end the segment, I do want to point out, if you go to my Twitter page, I brought this up months ago, that I thought that it was outside the box thinking that Zach Wilson may be an option for the Broncos. And I was laughed at. I was mocked. They were like, what are you talking about? Blah, 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 blah. Adam, you don't know what you're talking about. And I got a little sidetracked there. Long story short, I took a lot of heat for that take, and I just want to say, like the meme goes, I may talk a lot of junk, but I know my junk too. That wraps up another episode. As always, and I say this every single time, remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, visit all my platforms where I make fun of people, but I also provide breaking news, breaking updates, and all that, and I will be putting that in my YouTube channel as well. From the bottom of my corazon, thank you so much. And I touched my mic, so I probably need to fix that. Thank you so much for all the interaction that I get. I'm just a dude that loves talking football and loves talking Denver Bronco football. So make sure to leave me questions. I'll be sure to get in there. Give me likes. If you hate it, tell me you hate it. Say, Adam, you suck at this. You need to try something else. You need to do something else, which other people have done, by the way. And I will get to those. And as always, keep your eye on the ball, and I'll talk to you later.